Good evening, everybody. My name is Anto, coming to you live from the end of the world for another world building stream. We do this every single Sunday evening. We get together and we build out the area for my next homebrew campaign, which is the Jewel Cities of Talavar. We've been doing this for a couple of months now. It's been going well. We're going to keep doing it every week. So welcome. This evening, I am hoping that we're going to hit 500 pins on our world map. So throughout the course of doing this, we've been adding pins on the website called Legendkeeper. It's what I use to track all of my campaign notes and do all of my planning and all of that good stuff. So I'm hoping that this evening we should hit 500. We're on, I think, 479, 480. We've got about 20 pins to go, so I'm pretty confident that we can do this evening. So welcome everybody. Hello Bob, hello Ollie, hello Naftal. How are we? Well, almost forgot about this. About to go to sleep. Now, semester started, I have to get up early on Monday, so I'll probably have to watch the VODs for the foreseeable. I'm only here to say hi. Hi. I appreciate the drop in to say hi. And the VODs will be available both here on Twitch and they go up on YouTube on Tuesdays. So let's go ahead here and make sure that I've got all of the buttons pressed to start with. But if we press that button, it's working. Cool. So here we have the map of the Jewel Cities. This map was made using Incarnate, and the program that we're using this evening to do all of the pins and stuff is Legendkeeper. I've gone ahead and thrown that information into the chat, and you can see we've got a whole bunch of pins. Let's do a check to start with and make sure we know exactly how many pins we've got. So if we turn on pin clustering and zoom all the way out, I think that we're on 479, so we've got 21 pins to do this evening. Now I think tonight I want to mainly focus on the last area of this region that we don't have a name for. So over the course of the last couple of months, we've been naming all of these regions, we've been adding a load of information for them, and if I zoom in here, this little U-shaped or like upside down U, like an N, I suppose that would be. This area is the last part of the region that needs a name for its like country. These are all individual nations. It runs from this border here all the way around the coast in a big old reverse U and up to here. And this is going to be the last area that needs a name, and it's where I'm probably going to focus most of our efforts this evening. Bob, straight in with the monster redeem with the Tapundo. Let's figure out what that is. PF2. Let's have a look at this. The first world still has the first rough draft of many creatures in the material plane, but it's hard to tell what sort of creature the Tapundo was ever intended to be. It's a living tree. It's a big old tree. It's got like a real movement to it. Makes me think that it looks like it's dancing, but we can definitely put one of them on. It is bonkers high level, so I don't think that this is going to be something that we're going to find in this region. This is almost certainly an unclaimed lands creature to be that higher level, and we got nothing on this island, so I'm going to say we're going to go right in the middle of this island. I'm going to drop in a monster template, and this thing is Tapundo, level 90. Or we just come out of that and not do it. Level 19. So we go ahead and hide that, and it turns anything metallic into wood. That's cool. So we're just gonna make a note of that. Turns anything metallic into wood. So we can use that for quest hooks in this region later on, which is pretty cool. Turning metal things into wood. It's pretty cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that I have ticked off that immediately, otherwise I'll forget about it until next week. Okay, so we have no name for this last region, and we have no idea of what it is. So I think we are going to start off by doing some high level world building stuff. So we want to get the region template on the go here, and we're just going to call it last region for now because I don't know what it's going to be called in the end. And we need to change that. Welcome Valley, hello, how are we? We want to hide our pin as well for now, and then we're going to make this into the shield and make it black and give it the world icon so that we know that it's a region. Globe. We're just doing physical world building or also lore world building? Both. The intention is by the end of the evening to have 500 of these pins denoting locations, points of interest, quest hooks, items, monsters, anything that we could place on the map. 500 of them by the end of the evening. We are currently on 481. Right then, so this is, ideas are absolutely welcome. Throw ideas into the chat. We've been doing this for many months now, so any and all ideas, any fresh ideas are welcome. So we're going to start by kind of roughing out some information for this last region, and to do that I want to look at the regions around it and try and figure out what we're missing kind of thematically and stuff like that. So Aeldal is one of the bordering neighbors for this last region. They're very classic medieval European kind of knights, shining armor, some Warhammer Old World vibes as well, with some of the stuff down in Mornburg. Then we've got the Expanse, which can be pretty much anything we need it to be. We've got Eruxis, which is all lizard folk. So if we go, we've got quite militaristic, quite insular, quite open in the Expanse. And we've got quite a new region in terms of Hirondale. They are quite 16th century French inspired. Then we have the Hinterlands, who's got a bunch of kind of superstition when it comes to shapeshifters, and they're up and they're quite mountainous and they're higher elevation. We're in a great chance for us to bring in some of those shapeshifter lore points that have just been put in the chat. Then we've got Novaris, which is a kind of extension of one of the other regions of my world, Valoroth. That's where they originally came from. They brought a lot of draconic influence, a lot of the draconic language, a lot of dragonborn, and then we have the Vale. So I'm thinking what cultural thing we want to kind of pull from here. Now, several of the pins we've already got going on in this region involve like plague. We've got a village that's consumed by plague. I think we've got a couple of monsters that have got a plague kind of twist to them. We've got a lich, we've got night gaunt, we've got like horror vibes going on here. So I'm wondering whether this last region should lean into those horror vibes somewhat, or whether we take those horror vibes and put them into the Hinterlands, because the Hinterlands has got that distrust and that fear of shape changes, and they have, you know, rituals for how they deal with their dead because they don't want skinwalkers coming back. So I think the Hinterlands is probably the better bet for kind of capturing the horror vibes, which means we need something else for here. But let's go ahead and have a look at this shape changer lore. It's common knowledge that amongst adventurers that shapeshifters do not feel pain, those afflicted with lycanthropy being a noticeable exception, as they shift their bones, crunch, tendons and ligaments stretch and tear, internal organs realign, and the heat generated as the shifting rapidly heals in place. Any creature able to feel pain would never willingly choose to shift. It's for a lack of pain receptors that some mistakenly believe changelings can't empathize. That's pretty baller. That's pretty cool. I like that a lot. Let's go ahead and go to the Hinterlands and make a note here. Common perception is that shape shifters can't feel pain. And then we'll grab that. Any creature able to feel pain would never willingly choose to shift, because that's a great point. Victorian England and going into the Cthulhu type of adventures? Maybe. I feel like the Empire, the Desk Empire, is primed for all British coded things. So anything that's going to lean kind of towards that British coding will almost certainly end up in the Empire, because they're an empire and, you know, it's free real estate. I did do a fair bit of work on the Empire again this week. Finally named all of the cities, so all of the cities that are on the map have names now. Yay. Forgot to change the name of Cole on the Incarnate map to Shadar, so it still says Cole on the map, but it takes an hour and a half for this thing to export now, so that can wait until next week. Perhaps the population of true pacifist high-level druids. Pacifism on anything but really minor scales, I find, just is not dramatic when it comes to D&D, or RPGs in general. I find the only way to introduce drama to that situation is through the introduction or threat of violence, which kind of undermines the point of being pacifist, especially when you get players that are prone to murder hoboism. It really doesn't gel. So I don't know where we're going to go in terms of cultural touchstones for the last region, or things that we want to do. It might be worthwhile having a look and seeing what the common races of the whole region are, and see whether we can get some better representation of them within this last region, because I think there's a couple that we don't have kind of solid whereabouts for. So the common ancestries available in the dual cities are humans, dwarves, elves, half-elves, gnomes, halflings, goblins, ratfolk, gripply, kobolds, leshy, lizardfolk, orcs, half-orcs, tengu, and tieflings. So we don't really have anything developed for ratfolk, tengu, and tieflings. So we could bring something in there. It feels too large of an area to have them be kind of any one of those be predominant, but I would like to get some of each of them into some of the regions there. Maybe not a large population, a small isolated village. Yeah, we could do a small area of pacifism. High level druid, age 1 and 10 year, elves, space level, hasn't had a natural death of resident in 3,000 years, perhaps something named on the lines of Lamorta or Vido. I don't know what we would go with in terms of the population of like a long-lived area. But what about theocracy? Theocracy is a pretty good shout, actually. We don't have a huge representation for theocracies. Yeah, theocracy is a really good idea. Let's have a look and see whether we've got any shrines that we can pull from. So we do have a menhir. Menhir are like, if you think of the Guardian Stones in Skyrim that you go and you can interact with and get powers. So the menhir are magical stones dotted around the world that can give you powers, not necessarily religious, but they are dotted around, and there is one in this region. I don't actually think we've got any information. What's this military camp? Predominantly occupied by half-orcs. Okay. I don't think we have anything in the way of distinctive religion here either. So we got a full-on blank slate, which is really cool. If we go ahead, and I need to open Excel and pull up my list of deities and see what some of the options are, because I can't remember them all off the top of my head. What do I want? NPC generators. So, don't know why I'm looking in there and not in just the list of days in Legendkeeper. That would be much easier. Right, let's try that again. So, Alasia the dragon, that is out. Let's start by looking at the common gods in the Jewel Cities Traveler's Guide. So we've got Aldafe, who is the goddess of protection, Oedipus the farmer, Alaria the traveller, Hagen the warrior. The warrior is already covered by Ealdal. Cardia the maiden is already covered by the veil. Kovaz the smith, Sedna the tempest, Sophos the grandfather, and the Everlight. The Everlight's always a reasonably good bet. Like Holy Fire, the Sun. It's always a reasonable bet going with the Everlight, but I feel like it might be a bit overdone, and maybe we go for one of the less common gods. So our uncommon gods, we've got Erebus, who is the drunk god. We've got Koros, who is the mistress of decay. She's the goddess of undead. Onira, the dreamer. Pravis, the corruptor. Traxico, the bard. And Valwar, the thief. None of them are jumping out at me, to be honest. I do like the idea of a theocracy, though. It would pair nicely as a contrast to the... Let's find... Where is the Jewel Cities? It would be a nice contrast to the empire that's over the water to this region. So the empire puts no gods above the empress and the empire. So having, quite a religious based nation just over the water would be a nice contrast to that. It's just what do we go with? So if we just start off theocracy, we'll just get some information on. Translates to death forgot according to Google Translate, if you're wondering. Maybe the races are ruling this area together is the only way I can get their voices heard, maybe. How about the Everlight and the Decay in pairing? They tend to be opposites. I feel like the Everlight is the strongest contender, but it's also the one that I've probably used the most. So the campaign we're running at the minute, the kind of government that the players are interacting with, they're worshippers of the Everlight. In the last campaign, we had a lot of Everlight worshippers, and the Everlight is the goddess of the sun, so it makes sense that a lot of people worship her. But it would be nice to go with something else. Are all the cities fleshed out in the region? Because if not, you could do a major shrine in a city to act as a focal point and a capital. All of the cities are not fleshed out. All of them have names now. Some of them have little tidbits of information, but most of them are not fleshed out. So we can go and make a note that we want Soki, Tengu, and Tiefling minority population, because we don't have somewhere that really focuses on those three of the more common races in the region. Goddess of Decay does not make it dark by any means. Not necessarily, but a lot of bad things have been done in Chorus's name in campaigns that we have run. So even the players are going to bring an incredible level of prejudice with them, because 3 weeks ago they were in the city, the holy city for the Goddess of Decay, fighting legions of undead. So it could be an interesting way to play with those expectations the players have, but hard to imagine that an entire state is going to be able to establish itself and not get crushed by surroundings, but it could be. I'm not wholly closed off to the idea. Sender says, are you going to design the cities or only create them when you need in session prep? Both. So some of the city, as and when the kind of cities come up in stream, or I have an idea and I need a place to put the idea, cities get developed. Earlier today, I saw a piece of artwork of some Godzilla kaiju looking things, carrying massive steel beams as if they were construction workers. And that took me on a rabbit hole of, in a fantastic world where you have giants, it would make a lot of sense for giants to be involved in construction. So I was thinking about the Desk Empire, and over here in Emerald, I decided that Emerald, if I can click on it, I have to zoom in the city of Emerald, that's going to be like there is the picture, the Godzilla carrying the big old beams. I decided that it would be interesting to have this be the naval shipyard for the Imperium, and also for giants to be like super involved in the process of building these massive ships. So when you arrive at the city, one of the defining things about this city is you would see giants walking around with huge shipbuilding materials and standing like waist high in the water constructing ships. And I thought that was a really cool image that is unlike kind of the typical medieval city that you expect. That's how they've not been crushed. They just keep adding to their army if invaded. Yeah, maybe. What is a god that would make sense for the population, considering the population who live here, climate, the presence of the empire in the west? Just throwing up questions. Yeah, these are the things that I'm trying to work out. If we go ahead and jump back over to this last region. So we don't have a huge amount of stuff developed specifically in this region to draw on. There's a little bit of horror vibes, there's a little bit of like plague-ish vibes going on, but beyond that, that's all we really have. Navstal redeemed a random encounter. Shakala, a memory merchant, a mysterious merchant who roams the world trading knowledge. Curious customers can approach him and seemingly get any piece of wisdom they can imagine, but in return he asks not for gold, but for a different novel knowledge. From scientific discoveries to heroic tales, Shakala seems to accept anything, but beware, if you cannot pay for knowledge you've taken. He has his means to extract it back, and any other memory of equal value, even permanently. I like that. I like that a lot. Let's go ahead and place them down. So we want to create from template, and then we're going to go point of interest, and we'll go memory merchant. Hide our page, and then we'll copy the whole redeem, and then hide our pin. Perfect. Imagine him somewhere next to Lapis. Yeah, we can get him next to Lapis. Let me go ahead and clear off the request. Random encounter. Mark as complete. Yeah, we can definitely get him up near Lapis somewhere. Let's have a look. Lapis. Maybe we'll stick him next to Topaz, because Topaz doesn't have as dense a grouping of pins. And I'd like to keep as many pins close. Like one pin per hex if I can. Because then it helps fill the space out. Or maybe one of the towns further south. Let's have a look. Once legendkeeper stops freaking out. There we go. So we've got stuff around Charm. I think kind of on south of Lapis. Let's have a gander. Yeah, the whole road south of Lapis is pretty much set as far as random encounters go. Or we could put him in that town. Yeah, let's put him in that town. There's nothing in that town. Come on, legendkeeper. I know you don't like it when we're doing 8 million things and streaming. There we go. I think it's more the sheer volume of pins. It's like, don't make me interact with the pins. Don't make me move them. It hurts my brain. Cool. So let's pull up our last region and think about. One way to do this might be to start with, we've got these 3 races that I'd like to feature in here somewhere. Let's think about them specifically. So if we start with Tiefling have the infernal connotations. That could bring in a kind of more typically evil deity as part of the theocracy, or a lawful evil deity, probably, I would imagine. So let's have a look and see which lawful evil deities we can go with. So we've got Pravus, who is the corruptor. We've already got a bunch of stuff related to that god in Eildal, so I think that we'd just be doubling up. And then we have Pyrax, who is the War Master. We've already used him for an entire campaign, so I like to steer clear of him. Then we have Malus, who is the Prince of Darkness. He is like the ultimate devil. So feels like a bit much having the ultimate devil be kind of the theocracy in this region. That feels like, again, the surrounding regions would look at that and go, yeah, we can't allow this to happen. Weird idea. What if the theocracy doesn't worship a god or a creature or a herald of a god rather than a god directly, allowing you to slightly adjust the tone? That's a great idea. Hold my one map with 500 pins. Random encounter. Unfinished Requiem. A number of people have been found dead while a haunting melody plays. Melody never finishes. So far, both actors and patrons of the arts have been discovered dead. All bodies have turned up at the theatre, making patrons nervous. They turn up after 3-4 days after disappearing. Every time they reappear, the melody is heard throughout the theatre. Although the guards of the theatre company know what's happening, this being kept quiet from the city. Let's go ahead and copy that and choose one of the cities. Let's go to the City of Charm. Why not? Have we got a quest template? I can not remember. No, we don't. We'll go point of interest. Why not? And then this would be unfinished Requiem. Nope. Unfinished Requiem. Hide the page. Hide the pin. Don't remove the pin. Don't edit the pin. Hide the pin. And then paste. Cool. Right, so we've got an ad that'll be starting in like a minute and a half. So I'm gonna have a think. I think that having this region worship kind of a lower tier of being is actually a really good idea. And that might be a way to use the Everlight faith, but kind of twist it and bastardize it a bit, because the sun related gods are just so easy to make a load of drama for, because you have the whole like fire and flame aspect of them to play with, and that just, when you're dealing with fantasy world, makes it really easy to go like zealous fire mages and all that kind of stuff. Or we go with some kind of magical substance. Some kind of magical substance could work well. Like, oh, this is some special material. We do already have a bunch of special materials, though. Requires further pondering to figure out. But we'll get there. We will get there. We've got an ad starting in like 30 seconds, so I'm not going to dive too deep into one of these developments until the ad is played out. Pacific Sunset says is that Wraith Dragon in the last region. That Wraith Dragon, I believe, is kind of up in the mountains by the Howling Badlands. So if we move, come on, legendkeeper, go, do as I command. It's up here, I think. The Wraith Dragon, yeah, the Elder Worm Wraith. Timeless Nightmare, Jeremy, the Timeless Nightmare. That's such a cool piece of art as well. Having it be a big monster could be very cool, though. Maybe not the Time Wraith. The Worm Wraith, Worm. Maybe not the giant dragon monster, but having a big thing, that could actually be a good reason to bust out Monsters of Myth. Monsters of Myth, where are you? So, Monsters of Myth is a Pathfinder 2nd edition book, and the whole premise is, hey look, big scary monsters. There's a whole bunch of them, and they're really cool. So let's have a flick through and see whether there's anything in here that kind of pulls my focus, either in terms of monsters or in terms of kind of influence for like regions and stuff like that. Welcome, Katka. How are we? So this, we've already got Desert's Howl. Fafnir is way to Vikings. I tried to avoid Vikings at all costs. Giant lion creature thing, that doesn't feel nearly interesting enough. Do we just go straight at kaiju? Kaiju are cool, and having a kaiju would be pretty baller. Like, look at this funky guy. Like, he's a big old kaiju. Fire Elemental is a herald, so you get the Everlight if you want to stick to that. Fire Elemental could work. Built some fancy World Eater models. Are those official kits, or did you use some third-party bits? We love some World Eaters. The Angry Boys. Kalos Nightmare. That thing is... Kothogaz, the Dance of Disharmony. Kothogaz is a towering horror of claws and eyes surrounded by swarming insects. The Illuminated Prophet. First Herald of Deity. Leader of that religion, a very tall individual. Commanding presence and a tone of speech to match. I built them out of current Mark 6 Horus Heresy models and the arms from the Goliath Necromunda models. Nice. Maybe the Mengeke. Which one's the Mengeke? Have I gone past that? No, not yet. I don't know. It's in the queue though. Let me click on allow and that'll push it through. Krampus. I see. Let's have a look. Copy that and paste AONPF2. A gold dragon could be cool. We could do some gold dragon stuff. We do have gold dragons. So gold dragon is a potential. Let's just keep flicking through Monsters of Myth and see whether anything jumps out at me, because it's about time I use this book. Some of these Monsters of Myth are hideous. Right, we've got a giant mushroom creature, weird mosquito witches, the Sandpoint Devil. This is a weird, like, Mega Aboleth. Let's have a look. Right, okay. So, Somnalu. Got a big old central eye. It's like a cross between a Aboleth and a Beholder. Somnalu can unleash nightmares that affect the PCs at all tiers of play. That's pretty cool. We do have some nightmare stuff elsewhere, but we could have a whole nightmare region. I quite like that. I don't know whether I want a whole region dedicated to it, but that is pretty cool. I think we'll have Somnalu somewhere else. See, most of these are obviously designed to be fought and to be like the antagonist of a campaign, or the Tarask. I mean, we could go full on Taras worshippers, but again, that's something that we've touched on in a previous campaign, and I don't want to kind of retread too much ground. So I think that we're going to go. We want some kind of zealous theocracy. There are peninsula. I expect water to be a big part of their life. Water could absolutely be a big part of their life. I think maybe what we do is we take. Might be time to create a god. But let's have a look. Let's have a quick gander and see. We have Sedna the Tempest, who's the goddess of the sea. That could work. Excuse me. I suppose it would be easier or lean more into the druidic side and use the green man. I think that's a good point. We need to figure out what vibe we want this theocracy to be. Do we want it to be kind of an evil theocracy, an oppressive theocracy? Do we want it to be more chill vibes? Put on your sacrificial robes and creepy masks, my fellow cult mates, for tonight we're creating a god. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's my problem is I don't want to go down a route that makes it hard to sustain something over the course of an entire nation, because it's easy to have like a cult in a city or kind of a quirky or out there or outlandish like deity worshipper in a small region, but trying to like maintain a nation with multiple cities and, you know, covers hundreds of miles on some of those quirkier aspects can be really difficult. So that's a good point. Not oppressive. We've got that from the Emperor. How about Cornite theocracy with blood rituals, gladiator matches, honor bound and stuff like that? We get a lot of that from Aeldal to the south, which worship Hagen the warrior. So a lot of their worship is through battle, and they have a lot of fighting pits and stuff like that. Last time I checked, there were Hoatoa not in the region, but we could do something with them if you used them before and have a minor god made by them. Maybe. I think that if we're gonna go theocracy, it needs to be one of the neutral or good gods. And if it's gonna be one of the neutral or good ones, we've already used Hagen and Cardia, who are the gods of kind of warrior and contest and strength, and then the goddess of like love. That leaves us with the farmer, who is a god that I feel like a lot of people would worship, but it's just not very interesting. And then Sedna, the Tempest, the goddess of the sea. And I think that maybe if we're going to go for a god, Sedna is the one to go for. We do have a lot of coastline. We are near the sea. So that could be an option. We just have a lot of land. Maybe one of the Hollowed is spreading the word of the Desk Empire in the region in a crisis of faith. Maybe the region worships one of the Hollowed. Maybe one of the Hollowed has taken over the region. Yes! Right. That gives us another point. We don't need to figure out what the theocracy is. We don't need to figure out all of the other stuff. We just need to know the ruler is secretly one of the Hollowed. One of the Hollowed, and then we just figure out which one of the Hollowed they are, and boom, we've got an avenue to go down. Good job, Pacific Sunset. I felt my wheels spinning. Right, so the Hollowed, the soulless lieutenants of the former subjugator, now the Lady of the Tower. So we have the Shadow Master, who serves as the Master of the Shadows for the Empire. We have the Broken One. We have the Firebringer, the Ashen, the Imprisoned, the Redeemer, the Constructed, the Collector, who runs Deep Storage, which is a prison built around true polymorph and true polymorphing the inmates into like stones, and then throwing those stones into anti-magic fields to interrogate them. We have the Crude Jewel, the Empty, whose soul is trapped inside a village in the bottle in the Black Tower. We have the Sovereign, the Harvester, who serves the Elder Wormwraith, the Southern Wind, who's just flying around down near the Usisi Islands and the Unclaimed Lands, just being a pest. The Stampede, the Horde, the Ravenous, summoned a great sea serpent to rout the Order of the Twilight during the subjugation. The Endless, the Forsaken, the Inevitable, the Tormented, the Echoing Darkness, and the Thousand Faces. The Firebringer, and they're using the Everlight worshipping as a cover. That's a strong possibility. The Mask one that changes faces. Those are the two I'm kind of leaning towards, like the Firebringer or the Thousand Faces. If we go the Firebringer, we go a kind of bastardization of the Everlight and the worshipping of the sun. If we go the Thousand Faces, the only problem with the Thousand Faces is it's hard not to lean into, like, Big Brother is watching you. Anyone could be the Thousand Faces in that sense. So I think maybe we go the Firebringer. Secretly run by the Firebringer. One of the Hollowed. Maybe the Ravenous is the prophet and the Sea Serpent is who they claim to be the prophet of, while in reality they're the ones in command. Possibly. I do like the Ravenous. The Ravenous would be in my top 3 choice as well. And it gets us away from the Everlight and the potential overuse of the Everlight, maybe. For now, we will stick it. We will not make a decision, and we will just say that it's secretly run by one of the Hollowed. That gives us a context point to go with, so we can use that when we're deciding other things. So we'll just fill in some blanks. It's the easiest thing to do. So we need to decide on what the capital is going to be. I'm leaning towards Charm, being the southernmost city. It would be the first one to get the major trade as it comes up the cut and out of the Gleaming Sea. So I'm feeling Charm for our capital. I also really like Charm as a city name. Alignment. I feel like I'd like to go with a kind of mismatch alignment between the people and the state. So we definitely want to go with lawful. And then maybe like the people are neutral and the ruler is evil. But it's a secret, you know? Actually, we might be able to repurpose some stuff here. So. I believe in Ashk there was an idea in Kadim that there was going to be some gribbly monster underneath the palace that was secretly running the show. I don't know whether it ever made it onto Legendkeeper or whether. Let's have a look. Kadim. DM. Let's have a look. Somewhere, I believe. Demon of the City. There's a Vemerak. Yeah, so we were going to have some kind of Cthulhu-based monster underneath the city in this campaign. That never came about, but we could definitely do that with our last region in the Jewel Cities. Have them, on the face of it, worship the goddess of the sea, Sedna, and in reality have them following the weird Cthulhu-y Aboleth monster from the Monsters of Myth. Which means that in terms of the Hollowed, as the ruler, we go with the Ravenous. And because they summoned a great sea serpent, that great sea serpent that they summoned could be, instead of a sea serpent, we have it be the weird Somnalu. Page 84. Yeah, this weirdness. Let's find the picture of him. Yeah. This weird little guy. Recycle, reuse, reduce. Exactly. So how are we spelling this dude's name? Somnalu. AON PF2. So this little guy, I mean, he's not little. That's a good point, actually. How big is he? Medium? No, huge. He's huge. That's fine. So yeah, this monster. So this could be the sea serpent that the Ravenous summoned to get rid of the Order of the Twilight, which is a free company that worshipped Alaria, the Traveller. And then this region could, on the face of it, worship Sedna and be kind of a theocracy run by the church, and the head of the church would be a secret hollowed, secretly run by the Ravenous, one of the hollowed, who is either in cahoots or in service to Somnalu. We will absolutely change the name. Shouldn't the secret be marked secret? Yes, it should. Good catch. Good catch. Right, so let's get that in notes. Secretly run by the Ravenous, one of the Hollowed, who's either in cahoots or in service to Somnalu. And then I'm going to make a note to change the name. Right, so that gives us an avenue to go. So we know the main religion of this region is going to be very kind of sea and storms based, which would be good. And for the ruler secret as well. For the ruler secret, anything in a purple box is a secret. So we can get rid of our zealous note because that's not super important now. Ruler is evil secret. Yeah. No, I see where you are. So let's think about how it works. Excuse me for repeating the question, but would the prophet that I redeemed earlier be a minion of the Ravenous or the Ravenous themselves? Don't apologize. Got absolutely caught up in things. I imagine would be somewhere in service of. So the illuminated prophet, first herald of leader of that religion, a very tall individual with commanding presence and a tone of speech to match. Whereas the ceremonial masks, I mean, we can take almost all of that, I think, and adapt it for our Ravenous, I reckons. So the Ravenous, publicly known as we'll go illuminate a prophet for now, but if we can go over to thesaurus.com, and if we start getting synonyms, we can figure out what word could. Because illuminated makes me feel more Everlights and that kind of vibe. But we could go and have a look at kind of storm related words for making them the prophet of, the windstorm prophet. The windstorm prophet is actually pretty good. I quite like that, actually. Yeah, I like the windstorm prophet. Ow, I've got an itchy neck. Ravenous, publicly known as the Windstorm Prophet. First herald of Sedna. commanding presence, don't speak to mask, wears a ceremonial mask whenever in public, so no one has to ever see their face. And I like the idea of a lot of the hollowed wearing masks and kind of concealing their identity. So, next thing to think about is how the Usoki, Tengu, and Tieflings factor into a nation predominantly worshipping Sedna. I imagine a lot of it is going to revolve around kind of the fact that there's a lot of trade and it's a lot of kind of transient population coming in and out and arriving and leaving. So we'd have a lot of kind of dock workers and things like that. So that would work. Let's go to the hollowed pages and to the ravenous and the leader of last region. Masquerading as a Sedna worshipper. Masquerading. I was going to say that looks more like mascara-ing. Don't forget the name at least. Name. Yes, legendkeeper does automatically change the embedded names when you change the name of the region. Nagi. I don't know how I feel about Nagi. It doesn't grab me. We'll leave it for now. But I might go and do some searching through words for the name. But otherwise, we're loving the mask stuff. It's all good stuff. So, minority population, predominantly dock workers. So, let's start getting some bullet points. A lot of dock workers. So our politics. Number one. So theocracy. Our law, the law of the sea. Our nemesis. Definitely going to have the Empire as a nemesis, because I imagine that our Hollowed is over here in secret. Murano, Enzar, Novas. I like Enzar. Yeah, let's go Enzar. I like Enzar. Executive, so total power lies with the Windstorm Prophet. Our religion is Sedna. Gwent. Given that me and all of my players are Welsh, I try and avoid using Welsh words because everyone sees through them immediately. So, defense. So we'd have to have naval defenses. Choose your role. Hello. Also working on your campaign. That's cool. We're trying to hit 500 pins on the map. We've gotten a little bit bogged down in one specific region, but we're almost like high level past 10. And then we're gonna crank out the pins. Software using right now is legendkeeper. It's a world building campaign management tool. It's what I do all of my campaign planning and session planning in. Right, so let's start getting some pins down. Otherwise, we're never going to hit the 500. So we want to start adding a whole bunch of stuff. So let's go and think about what we can add in relation to the worship of Sedna. Now we've got some shrines to Sedna, the goddess of storms, elsewhere in the world. Clearly you forgot. Watch the second half of the VOD. Thanks for having Thanks for having out. Thanks for hanging out. Enjoy your sleep. So we need to figure out some options for Sedna, our goddess of the sea, of the storms. We've got some shrines to her elsewhere in the world, so that feels a little bit cheap and easy. So things that we can add. How would people worship the goddess of storms? What would the goddess of storms kind of effigies look like? That kind of thing we want to figure out. Feel like there's probably some potential along the coast somewhere to have something kind of like some kind of storm catcher, some kind of structure to harness the storms. That's a very good point. I don't actually know what form Sedna would take normally. Giant octopus is pretty baller. I imagine that kind of like the traditional kraken form would be a representation of Sedna most of the time. Yeah, like Bob has put. Sea of Storms, humanoid kraken. Kraken would definitely play into that. So if we're going down the route of the kraken, I like the idea of the coastline being, when I think about the kraken, the first thing that comes to my mind, I'm thinking Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm thinking the weird thing that is it a bell or a drum or a something? They have something that summons the kraken. I like flipping that on its head, and I like the idea of there being kind of a series of almost like sonar stations along the coast, like magical sonar stations, where they put out a like sonar signal to deter seaborne Griblies from getting up on the coast. Because other than some ghosts, which wouldn't be affected by it, we don't have any seaborne monsters in this region, and that could be why. So if we go ahead and we'd probably put that in defense. It's probably not something that we need to have. Magical reverse sonar monster repellent. And we'll come up with names and things for that another time. But I would like to get a pin down there to remind me of it. Like our base station. So it would probably be down here, down in like the tip, which means we'll probably move some of those things. Could have some great gates. Great gates are pretty cool. So what do I want to call this? The Sonar Awakening Device. Go full on Ziltoid for it. Welcome, Nolepa. How are we? So we'll just go Sonar Defense System for now. Because we just want the pin. Gates that simply stops ships and big sea life from getting in or out unauthorized. Yeah, I'm thinking that these big old sonar things will be what keeps the Gribbly Beasties, and they'll be dotted along the coast. Just want a pin to represent them. So I remember that they're there. And then that one would be the kind of main one, because most of the traffic could be coming up north through the waters. So next we want to think about other things that we can have. Let's go into the generic points of interest generator. It generates some points of interest and flavour them. So we're getting a lot of like spoils of war, which is not what I want. Soldiers fighting a monster. So if we go a little further up, on the beach somewhere, we can have some soldiers fighting a monster that has managed to get through the defense system. So there could be a broken down kind of whatever this device is that they're using to keep the Kraken at bay, to keep the Gribbly monsters away. This particular one has broken, and there's some monsters. So this would be soldiers fighting a sea monster. Could there be storms that occur semi-regularly that happens to clear up soon after prayer? Maybe. Having a bunch of storms along like the really popular shipping route, it's going to really impact everything else. But it's potentially. A hide pen. Soldiers fighting a sea monster, singular. The sonar defense system in this area has broken, and a gribbly beastie has slipped through. So what's crafted today in the world? We are working on the last region of the world. We still don't have a name for it, but we do know that it's going to be a theocracy, so predominantly religious area that's being run by one of the Hollowed, so those soulless lieutenants of the former empire, who is masquerading as a prophet for the sea goddess. And then we're just adding a bunch of pins kind of flavored to that sea goddess vibe. So some kind of cave. We can throw a cave in somewhere. We'll get it down here in this little inlet. And what do we want in our cave? Some kind of waterborne monster. Or some kind of treasure. Maybe need to think about that. Let's generate another one because I'm not 100% sure on the cave. We get a lot of shrines. Don't want shrines. Altars, places of power, dark secrets. None of these are jumping out at me. Let's have a look. Could go magic items then. A mermaid drone, an underwater cave, maybe. I was thinking some kind of monster had gotten trapped in there, but we don't want all the coastal adventures to be related to this coastal defense system. Let's generate some. Holy mother of God, Bob! That God appearance is metal as anything. That's insane. Holy mother of pearl. Right. Let's figure out. That's completely blown my mind. Let's generate some evocative names. The Bellowing Spire. It's pretty cool. Don't know what it would be. Some kind of reef. We could go reef. Still don't know enough. It's the problem with trying to put pins. Right. Okay. How far do you want to go with the serpent theme? You could have people there use serpents as a source of transportation on a sonar system that helps detect them so they can be tamed. I don't think I want to go too far down the serpent theme. More of just there will be a legend that whilst the Ravenous was still like one of the Hollowed serving the Subjugator, they summoned what people call a sea serpent. It doesn't need to actually be a serpent, it's actually more like an aboleth. But they summoned a sea monster to fight the free company known as the Order of the Twilight during the subjugation. That's what basically killed off that free company. And then completely separately, there is this windswept windstorm prophet, or whatever we've gone with. Windstorm prophet. There is the windstorm prophet, who is supposedly a herald of Sedna, who's the goddess of storms and the sea, who's ruling this region. There shouldn't be any connection between those two initially. It's something that would be discovered through adventure. I think we're going to abandon the last region because it needs too much development to like iterate pins real quick, and I'm determined to get us to 500 pins by the end of the evening. So I'm going to zoom out. and we are going to take a stock of where we are with the pins, if they cluster, and tell me how many of them there are. Come on, Legend Keeper. We want to see how many pins you have got. There we go. 292, 193. So we're up to 485, so we need 15 pins. 15 pins is easy peasy. I can draw items or monsters from the deck and just add those singularly. That's what I was just about to do. I was just about to get the errant cards that weren't used up the last time we went through the deck of many quests and pull from them at random. If I can remember which side of the deck has got the good stuff. I left myself a bookmark so that I didn't have to figure it out. Good. Right, so we got monsters, doppelgangers. So monsters, should just be monsters and items. I don't think there's any. Yeah, cool. So let's start with monsters. Give them a shuffle-a-roo. I don't have my top-down cam set up, so you're not going to see the cards that I pull, but we will figure it out. Cargo redeemed. City, the priestess of wells. A wandering, undying priestess of the water god which travels land to erect wells similar to the night elf moon wells, the name of their patron. The purpose of those wells is to turn the land around it slowly over time into floodlands, swamps, or riverlands, depending on where the well is put. That's really cool. I like that a lot. So let's go, and we'll put them somewhere in the expanse. I think gives us close enough to the last region to get that connection to kind of the goddess of storms and the goddess of water, etc., etc., but allows us to be like spreading the influence of that land. So we'll go right here. We'll go right here, thank you. So what do we want to call this? Priestess of Wells. Hide pin, and then copy. That takes us down to 14 pins. Try and keep track of it as we go. And then I'm gonna take off some of those rewards while it's on my mind. Yes. Perfect. Right. So let's have a look at some cards. We've got small fairies made entirely out of children's teeth. I would use that if not for the fact that one of my players in my current campaign is a tooth fairy. A mysterious stray cat not only is the shadowed one, it lurks about at night and can speak several languages. Rumours say that it wasn't always a cat. I like that. I like that a lot. Boom. It's going to go right here. So the shadowed one. And we're gonna tweak that a little bit, and we're instead gonna have it be a stray cat that the players can meet, and can have some a stray cat that PCs can meet that speaks several languages and wasn't always a cat. Perfect. So we're down to 13. A warhound that's proved too friendly for its intended job. Its tail never stops wagging. I don't like that. A street urchin. Behind their soot-covered complexion, a plucky attitude and a heart of gold. That's far too specific. Screaming wraiths who want nothing more than to spread their pain and suffering. I think we do already have some wraiths. Let's have a look. Goblin skirmishers. We've got some goblins already. A cabal of dark mages seeking unlimited power no matter the cost. Do we have? That's a good question. Let's go and have a look at the list. Holy moly, the list is so long now. Right, so there is a faction in... Before I go into this, John, if you are listening, turn it off. One of my players. So there is a faction that we could absolutely have some dark conspiracies in. and we can place them somewhere in the expanse. I'm thinking we go a little further south, though. No, I don't want to make things. I want to go south. I want to go home and rethink my life. It's weird how much Legend Keeper struggles on stream versus when I'm not on stream. Because when I look at OBS is like, yeah, you're fine. There's no slowdown. But Legend Keeper's just like, oh, my bones! Metusalem, a near 3,000-year-old elven druid that can teach dinosaur transformations to other druid if they're worthy. That's cool. I like that a lot. Right, let's get... Right, we're just going to have to zoom out a little bit. And that will help us get our bearings as to where we are. So I think that we're gonna go down near the city that's in the expanse. Man, Legend Keeper, I'm gonna refresh the page and hope that Legend Keeper sorts its life out. There we go. Clearly, that's all I need to do. All of this suffering for nothing. Just needed to refresh the page. What a nana. Right. Link to existing. This is going to be a cult location for the Whispered. Whispered are a faction in my game. They have a bunch of dark and evil powers in relation to resurrecting long lost evil baddies. Right, let's get our elven druid in here somewhere. Let's go right here. We've got an empty spot. So near 3,000-year-old druid that'll teach you the ways of the dinosaur. So that was 13, 12. We should be on 11 left. So let's keep pulling from the deck. A collection of light mages who want the best for everyone no matter what the cost. That's the opposite of our freaking dark cabal. A shadowy group of conspiring nobles looking to affect some politics in the realm in some dramatic fashion. We already have that in the form of the Resurrectionists in the Empire. A band of scurvy-ridden pirates on a prowl for a treasure and some vitamin C. We do have a bunch of pirate stuff already. A black knight of unknown allegiance whose oath prevents them from speaking. How do we make drama out of that other than they just attack? Because we have a lot of mountains, how about a lod? An overgrown temple, old rarely known path leading up mountain to an old ruined temple. Surrounding wildlife is a lot of snakes or giant snakes or similar snake creatures, and the temple itself is a Medusa protecting the temple and pouring the old land which was here, no temple, and all that's left. Medusa can be cursed, suffer an immortal state which you can't die from. Natural causes. Curse only prevent her from dying on her own. By natural causes, she can be evil, but not so evil to encounter, depending on how you want to approach her. Yeah, we can definitely throw in a Medusa lair somewhere. Let's go in these mountains here. Let's go right here. Some monster. Medusa. I have absolutely no idea what level Medusa are in PF2. So let's have a look. Medusa are level 7. That's lower than I thought it would be. That's fine. So we go and we'll copy prompt. And then hide our pin. Perfect. And we got like 4 more creature cards left. So a good clone of an evil wizard on the run from their counterpart. That's baller. I like that. We don't want it to be a monster though, we want it to be a point of interest. Because it is not a monster. We want to hide the pin. A good clone of an evil wizard on the run from their counterpart. Perfect. I think that should be 10 now. Hungry, slathering werewolves who are attempting to grow their clan. There's some werewolves up in the hinterlands, but I think we've already got map markers for them. Louisa de Lansha, a Dampier who wants to kill her mother. I like it. We're going to put her down near Shadar, the city formerly known as Cole, because there is a population of Dampier down there. So we're just going to call this Mommy Issues, because, you know, it's what it is. And a Dampier wants to kill her mother, the vampire that lives in... We do have a vampire city. Bloodstone, I believe it's called. Bloodstone. There we go. That's what it's currently called anyway. Might go for a less on the nose name as we go along, but there is a vampire that lives up there. I have lost count of our pin situation. 293 plus 199. We are 8 away. It's messing. It's messing with the pins. That's what makes Legendkeeper freak out. So I'm going to refresh the page again. Just keep purging. So we have a clockwork golem whose master died of old age and his last command was to protect. I like that. I like that a lot. Let's go somewhere. I think we might have some golem stuff up here anyway. So if we go somewhere near this Akmiri site, that's the Akmiri are a long lost empire that have been dead for 1,000 years. So having a construct that was ordered to protect this site that slowly kind of drifted away from it, that could be cool. So we'll go for that. Protection. So a construct who was deployed in the Akmiri site and whose last order was to protect. Maybe attach themselves to a person or place. I think it could be interesting to have had a sentient creature come across this construct and they be the first one to do so, and now the construct is like, I will protect you whether you want to be protected or not. And that takes us through all of the deck of many quests monsters. So let me put these back, and then we've still got a bunch of items. So we only have seven pins left to add. We got this. So Amulet of Giant Strength, way too basic. Amulet of Protection, way too basic. Some kind of crystal ball, too basic. I want something. Deed of a property. You can go in a different pile. I'm going to speed round through these items. Pack of the Pegasides. Backpack contains a set of Pegasus wings that unfurl on command. Grant flight to their wearer. Don't let any living Pegasus see you wearing it. That's pretty cool. I like that a lot. Morty's head. Morty had a body at one point. Nowadays, his head's all that's left. He can see, think, and hear just fine, but getting around is a bit of a chore. Gallows humour is his speciality. I really like that as well, just coming across a head in the woods. So that takes us... Let's go one more. One more item. we'll just speed run. I'm only reading the names of these items because I'm more interested in an evocative name than almost anything else, as it comes to most things. Necklace of snowballs, that's pretty cool. Nice take on the necklace of fireballs. None of the other names jump out at me. Order of Pegasus Riders sounds jawsome. Those Pegasus Riders, they're my favourite in the Fire Emblem games, even if they die fast. Yeah, having some... we could get a 2-for-1 out of the pack of Pegasus Riders. And have the backpack of the Pegasus as one thing, and then have the Pegasus that are looking for it as another thing. But for now, right, we've got Morty's head. Morty's head needs to be in the middle of the expanse somewhere, in this void here, near these hills. Poor Morty. And I'm fully okay with embracing the idea that this character is just Morty from Rick and Morty. That is hilarious to me. Nowadays, his head is all that's left. So Morty, I think that Morty's head is a magical item. I think that it's fair to say that Morty's head is a magical item. And then if we go up here and we'll put the Pegasus pack. I think we do have an item template. No, I don't think it's the item template. I think we've been using point of interest. Or not. Oh yeah, we've been using point of interest. So this would be pack of the Pegasus. And then we change that to be magic item. And hide our pin. And then click on that. Morty can give advice with morbid jokes. If you can stand the jokes, you get seemingly good advice. Exactly. So this is pack contains Pegasus wings that grant flight. Pegasus would be hella mad if they saw you using it. The Featherlance, a brave leader of the Pegasus Order of the Feathers Spear, if we're talking Pegasi already. That's a good point. Let's go and... So there's the pack of the Pegasus. So we will put the... We want to put them... We'll put them like along here on the road. And for this, we're going to go and we're just going to make a full-on faction out of this. Factions. Leader of the Pegasus Order of the Feathers Spear. The Order of the Feathered Spear. Hide that. And then hide our pin. And a group of Pegasus Riders. Then our plot hooks would be the pack of Pegasus. And then our leader is Thalia Featherlance. Brush up on the terrible morbid dad jokes. A Millennium Eye. And then we have a deed to a property. This notarized document grants its bearer the ownership of a property in a nearby city. It's a bit of a fixer-upper. It's leaky roof, torn shutters, and all the ghosts inside. So I don't think I'm going to go haunted house necessarily, but mimic house. That's what I'm thinking. Thinking deed to a property in a city that's quite far away, so that it feels like the journey to get there is enough of an obstacle that when they arrive they feel like they've achieved. So let's see. I don't think we have a mimic house in the Jewel Cities. We just got mimics. That's fine. So we go down here on this road here. We're going to create page. We're going to create from template. We're going to go points of interest generator. Deed to the mimic house. There was a quest regarding the mimic house. Was there? Maybe it's this quest. It would be awful weird if there were two Mimic House quests. No, I want this search. House Mimic. There it is. Noble have recently arrived in town and brought with him a domesticated house mimic. That was indeed a quest. Gosh darn it. It's fine. We deed to another house. It's fine. The prospect of it being deed to a house. To a house. A notarized deed to a house in where's far away from here. Let's go. I can't remember what the city is called. Because it existed as hill for like ages. Visoka. Fast kill them before they produce more of them. Exactly. So up in Visoka. Notarized deed to a house in Visoka. There's some kind of weirdness involved when they actually get there. But not a mimic house. We've used that already. This is the problem when you're doing like 500 pins. It becomes increasingly difficult to remember what you have and haven't already included in the world. So let's see, where are we up to? 294, 203, 3 more. Deed is to the assassin's base. Could be an assassin's base. Could be something. I mean, it's that's one of the pins that I'm happy to leave super vague until players interact with it and then figure out what's level appropriate then. So we've got 3 more pins to hit the 500. We've got 30 minutes to do it. 10 minutes a pin. Easy peasy. So let's have a look and see what else. I've been doing a lot of work on the Dusk Empire lately. So I'm sure we will have something for the old Empire that we can put in. But we do have an ad that's starting in like 15 seconds, and I remembered to check. So won't start the next one until that ad has played out. So use this as a chance to grab yourself a beverage, a light snack, some carrot sticks and hummus. There is something with a werewolf clan somewhere. Up in the hinterlands, I believe. Werewolf. Maybe not. I must have intended to do something with werewolves up in up in the hinterlands because they don't like shape changes. Is a golem an item, a monster, or an NPC? A monster, I think. If it can walk and potentially talk, it'd be a monster. So we want something werewolves. Or maybe we go right here and we go point of interest and we go dog soldiers, and we just take the plot of the movie Dog Soldiers. Adventurers traveling through the wilderness, bad stuff, forced to take shelter in a little shack. Dog soldiers. Although we could see if we could combine it with another movie. So let's do that. I found this site a couple days ago, and I've been using it to generate ideas for adventure plots. So you can make it generate a number of movies. So what I've been doing is I'd make it generate 2 random movies. So Dirty Dancing and Unforgiven. Unforgiven, I believe, is the story of a criminal that comes out of retirement for one last job. So the premise would be somehow a criminal dancer comes out of retirement for one last dancing related job. And you almost always get some kind of ridiculous combination, but trying to think of how to make that work really gets the creative juices flowing. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, there is some noble ball that the characters need to go to. It's renowned for its dancing, and they need to break Kevin Bacon out of prison after he's been imprisoned for all the dancing he did in Footloose. I know that that's not Dirty Dancing, but the whole premise of Footloose is dancing's illegal. So if we go start generating some random movies to mix with Dog Soldiers. Predator seems a bit too similar to mix with Dog Soldiers. War of the Worlds also seems... Forrest Gump. How in the 7 hells do you combine Forrest Gump and Dog Soldiers? So Forrest Gump, tale of Forrest Gump going throughout his life. We have to pick something specific about him to mix in with Dog Soldiers, but I do not know what. That might be beyond. That might be beyond my brain at like 20 to midnight. Let's just generate 16 for the sake of it. Dumb and Dumber. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Werewolves in the Werewolf Factory. Charlie and the Werewolf Factory. My brain has switched off. Charlie and the Werewolf Factory. So this is going to be Dog Soldiers meets Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So the premise is PCs are invited to an interesting and exciting factory-like place, the purpose of which is to make werewolves. Perfect. We don't need more than that. That's enough to give us a direction to go. So let's do another twofer and see what we get. I've never seen either of these films. That is a problem with this site. It will throw up all kinds of movies that you've never seen. Right, Memento, I've never seen, but I'm vaguely aware of the plot. Open Water, I've never seen. Gosh darn it, give me 2 movies I've seen. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Predator. Cool. So, party are hired to go and find ancient lost relic of some kind of religious significance. In doing so, they open the box and release some gribbly monster, and then it's all bets are off. Monster has a Predator twist. So we go Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So, and the Predator. If we're going ancient and gribbly, we'll probably want to go up into the Howling Badlands. So we're going to create from template, point of interest. I don't know what this would be called. I'm just going to go with something Monster Tomb, and then give myself the prompt of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and Predator. We want to hide that pin. We want to change the color of the pin as well, because it is a specific location, and we'll make it look like a dungeon. And then we go paste this plain text. Meets the Predator. Lucian Manel, owner of the Werewolf Factory. Now we just need to remember where the Werewolf Factory was. And I think we only have one more. So let's zoom out and do a pin check. Yeah, that's one more. We need one more to hit 500. Perfect. Let's give Legend Keeper an old refresh. Flush out the tech toxins. Two more. We could go 2 more movies, right? We'll go 2 more movies, and whatever they are, even if I don't know what they are, I'll Google the synopsis and we'll try and make them work. Walk the Line and Beverly Hills Cop 2. Right, Walk the Line is the Johnny Cash film, right? It's the story of Johnny Cash. I don't know a huge amount of Johnny Cash, of information about Johnny Cash. I do know he's a musician. I do know that he is a goth girl's dream. So I think that's all we need to know about Johnny Cash. Beverly Hills Cop 2, I don't know what the specific synopsis for Beverly Hills Cop 2 is. I'm pretty sure I've seen all the Beverly Hills Cop films, but I only remember the first one. So out on vacation, ends up in a different city. Right, so it's a buddy cop film, and we've got Espresso Depresso Johnny Cash. Unlikely pairing, a bard and a paladin trying to solve some crime. Johnny the Bard. So let's choose. I want this to be on the road somewhere. Where maybe here. Between two cities gives us lots of options for directions to go. So we want the Bard and the Paladin. So we have our premise. So this is Walk the Line meets Beverly Hills Cop. So what I like about this is we get to really play with the expectation of who would be what role in this. So you say, oh, I'm putting a bard and a paladin together on a buddy cop adventure, and you assume the paladin is going to be the straight talking serious one. In this situation, the paladin is Eddie Murphy, so the paladin is the comic relief, and the bard is the serious everything sucks character, which is really funny. Is comic relief. They are on a buddy cop adventure. So let's have a look at what the synopsis, the plot for Beverly Hills Cop 2 is. The alphabet crimes, high-end store robberies distinguished by their monogrammed envelopes with alphabetical sequence the assailants leave behind. Trying to solve a series of crimes. Series of alphabet crimes. I feel like we need to up the stake to murder rather than larceny, because I feel my players aren't going to care if people are having money stolen from them unless that money is going into the pocket of my players. But having a bard paladin buddy cop adventure where the bard is Mr. Serious Johnny Cash and the paladin is the comic relief is actually really good. I like that a lot. I think that would make for the ABC murders. Yes. trying to find the ABC killer. Why aren't you typing? What is wrong with my keyboard? The ABC killer. So, I mean, absolutely ridiculous premise. But I think there's a lot that we could do with that. The interplay between those two characters would be fun and interesting. You'd have the kind of flip of the normal roles between those two class combinations. And it gives me an excuse to watch Beverly Hills Cop. Red Hat bandits, they take slaves and sell them to evil magicians and nobles. Let's go ahead. We will put them near a city that doesn't have much near it yet. We'll go and we'll put them near Emerald. Red Hand Bandits. Hide. They kidnap people and sell them to evil magicians and nobles. Perfect. And I think that takes us to 501. The name makes me think of the Wet Bandits. I'm fine with that. Like, if I haven't already used Home Alone as the premise for an adventure, I will at some point. 501, that takes us over the line, which is exactly what we want. So, you know, when we started doing live streams, I was like, oh, I'd like 500 pins before the campaign starts. So I guess just live streams over. You know, we've hit the goal. There's no point carrying on. No, I'm hoping that we get to 600 before the campaign starts. Start date for the campaign is rapidly approaching. My players made some incredibly poor choices in last week's session, and they might all die next week. Well, one of them might die, and if one of them dies, the rest will very soon follow. They'd just finished an adventure, and they know where the big bad is, and they know kind of how to get there, and they know broadly what their goal there is. So like, oh, well, we should just, at the drop of a hat, with no planning, just go and try and mess stuff up there. You know, there's this big old demon portal that's being made, very Oblivion-esque. And they're like, well, we should just go and we should go muck about with this portal and see if we can disrupt it a bit and cause some damage. So, right, okay, we'll go cast Earthquake. That's all fine. But then one of them was like, well, I've just got True Polymorph, so I'll True Polymorph myself into a, like, gargantuan clockwork worm and drop myself from space and, like, deep impact this city, and it'll be fine. Bearing in mind, when they unlocked True Polymorph, we'd had a conversation about kind of the mechanics and how I interpret the mechanics of True Polymorph and where the sticking points might be, and in that, the topic of anti-magic fields had come up, and I was like, well, if you go into an anti-magic field, you will revert to your normal self, because the True Polymorph is suppressed, it's not dispelled, so once you're out of the anti-magic field, you'll resume your polymorph form, but while in it, you will turn back into your normal self. And then throughout the adventure last week, I seeded You Are Being Watched. Like, I had the big bad communicate by, like, puppeting a nearby NPC and then, like, killing him Vecna style from Stranger Things. Then I had them refuse the kind of orders that they were given by the big bad, and when they did that, more bad stuff happened. I think I did a pretty good job of insinuating that these villains probably can see or hear or know what you're doing, and then when they were making their plans for here's what we're going to do in this really poorly thought out trip to the big bad's lair, I was like, right, okay, I'm going to make some saving throws for you, but at no point did they stop and go, it's probably not a good idea. So they went and did it, and everything went terribly wrong, and the bard polymorphed themselves and then fell into an anti-magic field, and I was like, that's the end of the session. You'll find out what the results of gravity are next week. So we might be rapidly approaching starting a new campaign if they all get murderized and don't succeed in their goals. But hopefully we'll be able to get a few more pins in before we do start. I'm going to do some work on the last region in between streams. I think this coming week, I want to get a really clear idea of the high level stuff going on in this region, even if I don't get a name and some of the low level stuff, but I want to get a really clear picture of the highest level of information for the last region before we come to the stream next week. So how are we doing for time? We are 10 to midnight, so I'm going to start winding down. I'm going to do my whole where you can find me across the internet spiel that I do every week. But while I'm doing that, if you have any questions or comments or want to know anything about the world of the Jewel Cities, about my process, about RPGs in general, throw that in the chat while I do my usual here's where you'll find me. So if you aren't already following me here on Twitch, please go ahead and follow. We do these streams every week at 10 p.m. Sunday night UK time. We run for about 2 hours, and they're always good fun. If you are an Amazon Prime user and you don't currently use your Amazon Prime to subscribe to someone on Twitch, you can do that for free. I would very much appreciate that. If you wanted to do that for me, you get to choose a new streamer every month. Doesn't cost you anything, and it means that Daddy Bezos has to give me money, and that's always a good thing. I also have a Patreon where I post a magazine called SideQuest every month. It's a digital magazine. It's packed with content for players and Dungeon Masters of 5th edition, and there's a bunch of stuff in there every month to inspire you no matter what system you're running, even if you aren't running 5e. I have a YouTube channel where you can find a ton of videos on RPGs, on world building and being a Dungeon Master, comparing Pathfinder 2nd edition and 5e. That's actually something that I need to do as well, is have a look at what video I'm making this week. So I put a post on my community tab on YouTube and said, I've got no idea what video to make this week, so you've got until I finish my stream on Sunday to pitch me some ideas, and the highest rated comment will win. So let's go ahead and see what we're making this week. Okay, so something I've always wanted to see is a good guide on letting player characters craft items. That's got a decent amount of upvotes. but the top one is Pathfinder monsters versus D&D monsters. So that'll be this week's video. I'm going to be comparing Pathfinder and 5e monsters, looking at what makes them different, looking at which ones are better, if any of them are better, and what the different approaches with them are. You can also find me on Discord. I have a Discord server where you can go and chat with other people about all things RPGs. We have a Dual Cities channel in there, so I post kind of updates throughout the week of things that I'm working on the region of the Dual Cities between streams. And I also have a Drive Through RPG where you can go and get a bunch of resources for all kind of world building and other related stuff. All my downloadable stuff. Drive Through RPG. So that's all my shilling, I believe. I don't think I've got anything else to shill. Nalepa says, are the Grep Adventures on YouTube? The Grep Adventures? I don't know what the Grep Adventures are. If you mean, do I post, do I stream my games? I do not. I used to do kind of campaign diaries, but they did not perform well, so I didn't do them for very long. Pacific Sunset says, have you developed an in-game calendar for the Dual Cities, or are you going to use the same one from your Ask Adventures? Kind of both. So I've taken the calendar from Ashk. I can actually show you if I jump over to the desktop view and you go display capture. You just Inception. Okay, so this is Affinity Publisher. This is what I use to build all my PDFs. I'm currently building the Traveler's Guide to the Dual Cities of Talavar, which is what I'm going to be giving to my players before the start of the campaign to give them information on the world, to help them make informed choices about kind of what kind of characters they want to make, where do they want to start, all that good stuff. So in here we have the calendar for Ishtar, which is the world upon which the Dual Cities rests. And it is a 13-month, 28 days per month calendar, and it's based around the seasons for the most part. So whilst I was remaking this, my original calendar was the same length, the same number of months, but it was very, very kind of Latin naming convention focused. You can see Calor and Solis in the middle in the summer months. All of the months were named like that. And what I found over the course of this last campaign, over the last couple of years, is the players that had no concept of where they were in the year, except for in Calor and Solis, because those were the two summer months, and they're the 2 months that we started both of our campaigns in. So they were familiar with those 2 months, but then they just had no idea where they were in the year. I would say a month name, and that would mean nothing to them. So when I was redoing this, I went in with much more of a focus of what are month names that can work for giving them a kind of context of where they are in the year. So like Snowfall, you're in winter. Sunfall, you're coming into autumn. Reaping and harvest, that's all to do with crops and stuff, and you know, all that kind of stuff. And so let me go ahead and re-incept here, and then do that. It's near 1 a.m. for me. I will go now, and I wish you all a wonderful time and good friends. Thank you very much for stopping by, Nalepa. Have a nice sleep. Dunwall's finest. Making a calendar, I see. Just showing off the calendar for the world. We're actually getting ready to finish up. If anyone has any other questions about the world or about anything to do with the Dual Cities or the game, throw them in the chat now. This is last call, because it is almost midnight. It's almost time to go to bed. But if no one else has any comments, do the Hollowed lose their body's natural ability to heal itself? That's a very good question that I don't immediately know the answer to. No. Yes. Maybe? So I think that they will lose their natural healing ability, but they'll be so suffused with magic that they'll be able to kind of heal themselves magically without much of a concern. I like the idea of them being near indestructible until you break kind of those crystal facilities of them. 28 days good for each month is a good idea. Once you make a calendar for 1 year, you've made it for more. Exactly. So the days of the week, the third day of the third month will always be the same weekday. Means you only have to have one calendar. It makes it really easy to understand and apply, and by going with really seasonal focused names for the calendar, hopefully it'll help give the players more context and easier time of understanding where they are in the year, instead of just giving them like a gobbledygook name and then being like, that means nothing to me. You can be like, well, you're in Frostfall, there's frost around, it's that kind of time of year, it's cold, you're not in summer. And hopefully that will be more effective for them. But yeah, I'm going to call it there because it is late and I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed. But as always, I very much appreciate you stopping by, hanging out, helping me build out this world. I'm super pleased that we hit the 500 pins on the map. I don't have anything else to shill. I've done all of my shilling. So I've been Anto. This has been Icarus Games. And until next week, happy gaming.